Hey bro, what's going on? Hope you're doing good because today we've got something pretty exciting to talk about. The brand new Dragon Ball FighterZ update, version 1.000.008. Yeah, that's right, the latest patch just dropped, and man, it stirred up some real talk in the community. I've spent a good bit of time going through the notes, testing some stuff, watching players lab it out, and let me tell you, this one might not look massive on paper, but the tweaks inside it, they've got some real impact on how the game feels, especially if you've been grinding ranked or running sets with your crew. So, let's just talk about what this update actually brings, how it changes your gameplay, and how it might affect your team synergy and overall meta moving forward. This isn't one of those over-the-top massive season updates where everything gets flipped upside down, but it's the kind of patch that quietly changes how the game breathes. The developers have clearly been looking at balance, fairness, and how certain moves interact in longer combos or pressure situations. You can feel that they're trying to smooth out some of those extreme cases where certain characters could just take control too easily. Now, the first thing that stands out in this update is the adjustment to Z assists. That cooldown between when you call your assist and when you can call it again has been tweaked. Sounds simple, right? But if you've played this game for any serious amount of time, you know how huge that can be. Z assists basically shape how your team works, how you set up pressure, and how you extend combos. Changing the cooldown means that a lot of team setups might need some adjustments. For people who've gotten super comfortable with tight block strings or looping pressure using assists, this could throw off your timing at first. It doesn't make assists bad or anything, but it forces you to think more about when to use them and how to structure your offense so you're not left wide open. Let's talk about some character-specific stuff because that's where the real meat of this patch is. Starting off with Vegeta, the Super Saiyan version. His crushing knee kick got its ground version's proration adjusted. For anyone who's not too familiar with what proration means in this context, it's basically how much the damage of a move gets scaled within a combo. When proration gets changed, it means your damage potential either goes up or down depending on how it scales the rest of your hits. With this tweak, it feels like they're trying to make sure Vegeta's routes stay balanced. Still rewarding for skilled players, but not over the top if you manage to open someone up early in the combo. Then we've got Gohan, the teen version. His Super Dragon Flight move got two changes. The light version has adjusted proration, and the heavy version has a shorter block stun. This is actually kind of a big deal. Teen Gohan players are known for their crazy pressure and the ability to just overwhelm opponents. Reducing the block stun on that heavy version means you can't just mindlessly pressure people and expect them to sit there forever. It adds a bit more risk to your offense, making you think about when to throw that move out and how to cover yourself after. The light version adjustment, on the other hand, affects how it fits into combos, so you'll need to spend some time in training mode to find out what your optimal routes are now. It's not a nerf that kills the character or anything, but it definitely puts more responsibility on the player to be deliberate with their offense. Next up is Yamcha, and I know a lot of you out there love this guy. His Wolf Fang Fist finisher got a tweak on its knockback when it hits. At first glance, it might seem minor, but Yamcha's whole game plan relies on his mobility and ability to stay close to his opponent. If a move knocks back too far, you lose pressure and potential follow-ups. So, adjusting the knockback probably makes his combos and setups flow more naturally again, especially in corner situations where you want to keep the momentum going. Now let's talk about hit. This one's pretty interesting. His instant blow move has been changed so that the time freeze effect, that little slowdown when it connects, doesn't last as long when the opponent is already in hit stun. What that means is that you can't extend your combos quite as dramatically using that window anymore. It tones down some of the crazier conversions hit players were doing, but he's still a monster in neutral and punish situations. This change just makes his gameplay a little fairer while keeping that signature precision assassin vibe intact. Moving on to Goku Black, this one might disappoint some of you combo fanatics out there. His Fierce God Kicks heavy version got adjusted so that when you hit your opponent in the corner and the special effect doesn't trigger, the stun time is shorter. Basically, this tones down certain corner extensions that were a bit too generous. It's one of those small balance corrections that make sure he doesn't dominate with setups that are too forgiving. Zamasu, Fused, also got some adjustments to his Wall of Light move. The developers tweaked both the timing and the cooldown for using it again. Zamasu's always been kind of a unique character with how his flight mode and zoning options work. And this change seems focused on making him feel more balanced when he's controlling space. It stops him from spamming that move too easily, but still lets him apply pressure strategically. Then there's Videl, who's actually getting a nice little buff here. Her Moonsault Kicks heavy version, when done on the ground, is now easier to connect in the corner. That's a quality of life improvement for sure. Videl mains have always had to put in extra effort to get her combos consistent, so this makes her a bit smoother to play and more reliable when you've got your opponent trapped in the corner. It's not going to suddenly make her top tier, but it gives her a bit more flow in her offense, which is always welcome. And finally, we've got Goku, Ultra Instinct. The developers hit him with a pretty big limitation. His unrestrained will move can now only be used once per Z combo. That's actually huge. If you've played against a good UI Goku, you know that his combo routes could just go on forever, and that move was part of what let him keep looping or extending in ways that sometimes felt unfair. By limiting it to one use per combo, they're forcing players to think carefully about when to pop it. It's still strong, but it's no longer something you can abuse endlessly. It makes his gameplay more tactical and less autopilot. Now let's talk about what this all means in the bigger picture. Even though this isn't some massive overhaul, it definitely shifts the pace of the game. The assist cooldown change, for instance, can subtly affect every match you play. You're going to notice moments where you instinctively try to call an assist, and it's just not ready yet. That means you'll need to be more aware of spacing and neutral control instead of relying too heavily on assists for safety. It adds a little bit more of that old school fighting game feel, where timing and spacing matter more than just cycling your support options. Characters like Gohan and UI Goku, who thrived off long combos or oppressive sequences, will now feel a bit more balanced. You'll still see strong players doing wild stuff with them, but they'll have to think through it more. On the flip side, characters like Vedel getting smoother corner connections help close that gap for lower tier fighters, so it's kind of a win-win across the board. It feels like the devs are trying to make every character viable without letting any single one dominate the meta too easily. From a gameplay perspective, the patch feels like it's rewarding players who have good fundamentals. Those who rely purely on set play or muscle memory might struggle for a bit as they adjust to the timing changes, especially with assists and combo scaling. But once you get used to it, the game actually feels cleaner, less chaotic, more honest, if that makes sense. And this kind of patch always has that fun ripple effect on the community too. People are going to head back into the lab, start reworking their team synergy, maybe even test out new assists or character orders to see what still works best. This is that sweet spot in the game's life where things feel fresh again without being unrecognizable. You'll probably see new tech popping up on social media, combo compilations showing how people adapted their routes, and of course, tournaments will be extra interesting in the next few weeks because we'll get to see which players adjust fastest. If you're someone who's been away from FighterZ for a bit, honestly, this update is a nice excuse to jump back in. The core gameplay is still as tight as ever, but now there's that extra bit of freshness that makes things feel new again. You don't have to relearn everything, but you'll get to experience that satisfying process of rediscovering your characters under slightly new conditions. And for people who main the adjusted characters, don't sweat it too much. These aren't nerfs meant to ruin your fun. Think of them as balance nudges. UI Goku's limitation, for example, doesn't make him bad. It just forces smarter decision-making. Teen Gohan still has incredible potential. He just has to work a touch harder to keep that pressure tight. And Videl players finally get a break with that easier corner connection.